Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we got a new Mulcharmy monster. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out and see what this card does. So this card is going to be released in Supreme Darkness, and oh no, there's another one. Mulcharmy Nyarus. And let's go ahead and see what this card actually does, and I love the picture that Yugioh organization actually used. And this card's an Earth monster. I knew it was going to be an Earth monster. I just knew it. Okay, so this card looks amazing. It does look like a Mew directly from Pokemon. It's probably the most adorable of the three. And I love the artwork of this card, especially this one right here. This one looks like is adorable. So let's go ahead and see what this card actually does. It's probably going to be like what? Banishment and Graveyard. Like that's the only zones that are left. So this card is from Supreme Darkness, and this is Mulcharmy Nyarus, and it has a beast and effect as an Earth level 4 with 100 attack and 600 defense, which is very similar to the attack and defense of the other Mulcharmy monsters and the same level as well. So for this card's first effect, or for the first ability, you can only activate one other Mulcharmy monster effect the turn you activate this effect, meaning you can get 2 Mulcharmies in a turn and basically get this and Pirellia or this and Floros. You cannot get all 3 of them in the same turn. You can only activate 2 Mulcharmies per turn. And it has the effect, for the first effect, if you control no cards, quick effect, you can discard this card and apply these effects this turn. Each time your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard and or banishment, immediately draw a card. That's a really insane effect, but I feel like this card is going to be like side decked at best, because it's not going to be insane against every single deck, because not every single deck summons from graveyard and banishment. Not like Floros, and definitely not like Pirellia. This card is going to be really good, but for that effect alone, I feel like this card is going to be maybe side decked. If like Malice and Ritual Beast become really meta, then this card could see side deck slots, maybe even main deck slots, in a format that you have like 2 decks that are summoning from Banish like crazy. But I feel like this card is probably just going to be a side deck card at best. But it's still pretty cool to be able to see another Mulcharmy monster that's going to replace Maxi. So at this point, we can probably just confirm that Maxi is going to get banned in the next couple of lists in every single format, especially when these cards come to Master Duel. Maxi's definitely getting banned. So the other effect is once during this end phase, if the number of cards in your hand is more than the number of cards on that your opponent controls plus 6, you must randomly shuffle cards from your hand into the deck, so the number of cards in your hand equals the number of cards your opponent controls plus 6. So for example, if your opponent controls 6 cards on their side of the field, you get to keep 12 in your hand. 6 plus 6 is 12, so you do get to keep 12 cards in your hand. But this card is still really good overall, but I just don't feel like this card is as crazy as Floros or even Pirellia. So this card is probably just going to be a side deck card at the best, but it does have the best artwork because it does look like a Mew. They went with a pink cat look, and I really do feel like this card definitely looks like a copy of Mew, which is just really interesting. And I love the artwork. It just looks phenomenal. This is actually my favorite artwork of all of the Mulcharmy monsters, and I really like it overall. But it is a beast monster, which is kind of interesting because as a Chimera player, like this is really cool because you could play this in Chimera, because of the effect that it is a beast monster, so it's searchable in Chimera, which is kind of neat. And I like that effect on this card, that it is searchable. So if you do main deck it in Chimera, you could always use it for a fusion play, which would be really cool. So you could play this in formats that there's a lot of banish and graveyard special summons. Like again, if Ritual Beasts become crazy, or if Malice comes out of the gate and it's just crazy to play Malice, you could definitely, I could definitely see this card being main decked in decks like Chimera, because you could just instantly search this card, but you might already have cards on your field. So if your opponent does board wipe you, could still play it, or just main deck it, and if you do open it going first, you could just fuse it away if you didn't need it. At worst, it's a vanilla monster that you can use as a beast monster for your fusion plays. So that's not terrible in a deck like Chimera, but I feel like, again, this is probably just going to end up side deck. I just noticed the one with the X's on the eyes. I love that up there. That's so cute. But this card overall, I feel like, again, is probably just going to be side decked. It's not as crazy as Floros by any means, and don't go crazy over this card, because I feel like, again, there's not a lot of decks right now that are graveyard and banishment, but it does fit a certain niche that is needed, because now they have basically made one that searches from any zone, from hand, deck, graveyard, banishment, even extra deck being able to special summon. They have all the different zones that you're going to be special summoning from covered in the form of this card, Perilia and Floros. So basically, Maxi has just outlived its usefulness. It does remind me a lot of how they did with Pot of Greed, where they just banned Pot of Greed and got rid of it. And then you had cards like Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Prosperity, Pot of like Desires that came out that just kind of replaced it in those terms. And it like just got rid of the need for Pot of Greed. And so you can't have super generic cards in the game, because it basically hinders the way that you can make new cards. So I feel like this card is actually really neat, and I love the artwork. Like, the artwork is just amazing. It's just like one of the cutest cards I've ever seen in my life. Plus it looks like Mew. So that is going to do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. What do you guys think of this new Mulcharmy? Are you going to be main decking it, side decking it? What do you guys think about this one? It's just going to sit in your binder. I feel like this card is, again, in my personal opinion, I think this card is probably just going to be a side deck card against certain rogue decks, against Ritual Beast, Malice. But it's really nice to see this card come out with Malice being tier 1 in the OCG, because Malice is a big, like, insane deck over in the OCG. And so when we get Malice, we're going to have this card as well. So you might see some play as long as Malice is like tier 1, tier 2, something like that. You'll probably see this in a lot of side decks, especially Ritual Beast doing pretty well in the TCG as well right now. So this card might see some play in the TCG, but it's not going to be anywhere near Floros. So that's going to do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell and there's so you can come part of notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.